is up, YouTube. Anyways, guys, already, let me switch this up because I want to show the Seahawks right there. We got a couple comments already in here. I'm pretty happy about that. Brandon says, let's go. He also says, what a week in our gold league. I know, man. My first dub in that league because of my honestly crappy drafting. But like I said, just trying to have fun. But yeah, it's been a crazy league, to be honest. Liam says, fantasy football sucks. CD Lamb sucks. Mike Evans sucks. Yeah, so I'm assuming Liam has CD Lamb and Mike Evans because that is definitely a possibility to have those guys for sure. But yeah, that's fantasy, man. That's why you don't usually put all your marbles in one league because once it goes down the crapper, it's all downhill from there. Mr. Magic says, yo, what is good, my guy? How you doing? He says, just got to lock in like the rest of us, Liam. It says, how much fab on Benson? I have 78 right now, and my running backs are cooked. Put down in the comments how cooked they are. Who is it? Let me know. He says, I also don't have Connor, so I'm probably battling the Connor owner. Ooh, probably. How is his team looking after Connor goes down? Is he like hurting as well in the running back position, or is he pretty decent? Mr. Maddox says, my whole team is in shambles. No CD, no Kittle. London sucks. BTJ sucks. Chase Brown sucks. Dang, that is pretty in shambles, to be honest. Having all those guys at one time. Obviously, now you're going to have Kittle. I mean, you should have Kittle on IR already. CD probably won't make it to the IR just because he's not going to be out for that long. So definitely something there. Brandon says, is it just you today? Yes, it is just me. AJ should be on TikTok if you want to join AJ's. His is going to be more like rapid action as it usually is on TikTok. I did that last week, and man, I just forgot how quickly it goes. So an hour flies by, but your voice will definitely tell you that an hour has gone by. Says my running backs are Chase Brown. Okay. Mason, not bad. At least you got Mason, Henderson, and Samson. Obviously, Samson has just depleted. He's not going to really play anymore. Obviously, he'll get snaps, but it's not going to be like Quinshon Judkins, who's going to take most likely 70% of the snaps going forward. He's just that guy. So it's not super, super cooked. If you look at Chase Brown's schedule, he has a very favorable schedule in the end, back half. So I think he's still worthy to hold on to. That's what I'm doing in one league. But yeah, definitely want to get Benson. I would say like 15. You can also do I wouldn't say 20 fab. That's insane. I think the highest I'd go is 15 just because Benson is not James Conner. Benson is good and he'll get receptions and stuff like that, but he's not a James Conner. So he's not as good. That's why he's the second string. Connor still, as the older guy, was ahead of him. Even though they are starting to split carries before Connor got hurt, he's still not as good as Connor. But he'll be serviceable for sure. But he also will be splitting with DeMarcado. So know that. It might not be a 50-50 split, but there will be a split. Thoughts on the trade I made? He says Benson and Henderson for Jacobs. I love it. Love it a bunch, Rave. He says, I've been back and forth in my thoughts of benching Drake London this week. He just has underperformed the past 3 weeks. So do you think he'll do something? Let me double check who Atlanta is playing. I should know already, but I just don't, honestly. Let's see. So it seems like they are playing Washington. Washington's defense is actually decent. They didn't do a whole lot bad this week. So I don't know. I don't think Drake London, from where you drafted him at, deserves to be on the bench. But you can probably put him in like a flex. I don't know what type of league it is. Is it the Gold League? Let me know. Let's see. It says, now my running back room is Kyron, Hampton, Jacobs, and Etienne. I love it. Those are like some of the top. It's probably like top 4 running backs in the top 10 there. Kyron is doing really good, or not really, really good. I'm thinking of Jonathan Taylor. But Kyron is serviceable, definitely getting you double-digit points. Hampton, coming out the woodworks, finally making it up from where you drafted him at. Jacobs, great trade in my opinion. Benson is not going to be that, workhorse type of guy for the Cardinals. And then Jacobs, yeah. Jacobs is just amazing. ETN playing really great. Hopefully he can keep it up because we've seen him definitely regress after having a good portion of the season. Wide receivers are Odunze, Chase, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Ridley. Odunze is definitely a start. After that, it's kind of guesswork, honestly. That's why I think maybe you should hold on to London and start him in the flex. I would go Odunze, Chase, and obviously London. I don't like Marvin Harrison Jr., and he's going against the Seahawks this week. And I'm just telling you right now, man, I'm super high on our defense, and he's going to be pretty locked down, to be honest. Ridley, he's a bench guy for those bye weeks, basically. Should I start Cup this week? Probably not, because the Cardinals defense is also pretty good, but that also could work in his favor. It's a 50-50 split. I think he'll get somewhere between like 6 to 14 points on the high end. It could be a really bad game for us passing, or it could be a really good one if we just like manipulate and show how bad the Cardinals actually are. Because for honestly, lack of a better term, the 49ers didn't do that this week because they're pretty injured, and their offense is pretty injured with Kittle out. Obviously, Ayuk is still out. Pearsall is there. Jennings is like half a human right now with his injuries. So they definitely didn't cook the Cardinals because they really don't have too many people out there. But Pearsall did pretty good. Mr. Magic says JSN is so freaking nasty. I wish I had him again. Yeah, dude, he's the guy. Everybody kind of downplayed him with DK leaving, but I knew it was a good opportunity for him because he did well last year, and he was mostly in the X and the Y, like he is right now. A little bit in the slot, like he does now, but he's really, really serviceable. I mean, even with the flu, he killed it, and that's because he didn't even play the last quarter. Razzie, what up, Razzie? I love your picture there. Minecraft all the way. Free Kirk Cousins. Nah, Kirk Cousins is old news, bro. He's not good. Drake May or Baker this week? I would probably go Baker, to be honest. I think he has a pretty tough matchup against the Eagles, but I think it's going to be good. Whenever he has a target on his back, he plays his best game. But Drake May is not a bad guy to start. I have Drake May in 3 leagues, believe it or not. And Carolina, he should pretty much eat too. So Carolina's coming off of a good win. And obviously, Patriots want to win. So I think it'll be a good one. Those guys are both startable, in my opinion. But Baker has more of a higher ceiling, in my opinion, just because of the matchup. Start 2, Keenan, Ridley, Golden. Keenan and Golden. F. Ridley. But Golden is finally getting reacclimated into the offense, going against the Cowboys in a weak defense. Golden should have a lot of opportunity when he's on the field to get the ball. But so will everybody else. So should be a feast. No, it's a Yahoo League I have, but my only backup wide receivers are Jamal Williams and Cooper Kupp. Look at Jamal Williams. Let me see. Oops, I didn't write the J. Jamal Williams. You're talking about the Williams from the Lions? That's not Jamal Williams. That is Jameson Williams. So is that who you're talking about? Because Jamal Williams doesn't play anymore. He's not on a team. But if it's Jameson Williams, just go ahead and look at the matchup. I'm checking right now. He's got Cincinnati. The first week that he actually did good, it was against Chicago, which was a good defense. I don't think Cincinnati is a good defense, so I don't know if actually Jamal Williams will actually play all that good, in my opinion. That's just kind of how he is as a player. He thrives when teams are thinking about other wide receivers, and Jameson Williams just goes uncovered. Let's see. Yeah, he's talking about the Lions. Yeah, I got you, buddy. I got you. Marvin Harrison Jr. or ETN this week at the flex. I would probably say, I think I would go with ETN. I'm not a big ETN guy, but the way he's playing, it's pretty good. I think he can even put some good numbers up against San Francisco. They just lost Nick Bosa. So that's a huge loss in my opinion, and that's going to mean some gaps in there. Obviously, the linebackers are great, so definitely keep that in mind. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is also going against a tough defense in itself. And we've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. and how he plays against tough defenses. So far, his stats are 18, 4, and 7. 18 was against New Orleans. 4 was against Carolina. 7 was against San Francisco this past week. Obviously, in my opinion, and I don't know if this is biased or not, but I think right now our defense is just as good, if not a little bit better than the San Francisco 49ers defense, just because they also have a lot of injuries and a lot of younger guys. But so do we. So I would start ETN, to be honest, especially with a more injured defense on the San Francisco 49ers. Not that they won't do good. I traded Wando Robinson for AJ Brown. Yeah, I saw. That was freaking insane. Good job, man. I definitely think AJ Brown moving forward is going to be the better guy, especially now that we are seeing the rookie come in. So New York Giants are starting to play Jackson Dart. They already said it that he's the starter this week just because Russell Wilson played like doo-doo. So I like it. But yeah, I am disrespecting Marvin Harrison Jr. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't earned his spot in the league just yet. He's a great player for sure. His dad was an amazing player, but Marvin Harrison is just a great player. He's not that guy yet. So tough defenses are going to give him trouble. Yo, what's up, Broly619? How you doing, man? He's on Twitch here. I love it. So he says Hampton or Kyron. Ooh, that is a tough one. I have Kyron in one league, and I have Hampton in another league. He's going against the Giants. This could be his time to feast, especially if the Chargers are playing pretty dang good. Let's go ahead and see who Kyron Williams is playing. Indy. Indy has, not a bad defense, but not a great defense. I think both of those guys are startable. Is there any way you can start both, or you have to choose between one? So let me know down in the comments. Brave says Kincaid or Juwan. I'll eat my words. I think Kincaid has been playing pretty dang good, so I don't fault you for playing him against New Orleans. He could definitely feast, but he could also be forgotten because everybody else is going to be feasting too. We saw what the Seahawks did. They got everybody involved this week. But Juwan Johnson is going against Buffalo. He's also probably going to have some good usage there. He's been so consistent, but so is Dalton Kincaid. So I think, again, that's a good problem to have. But if I'm thinking of anybody who's going to be on the high end here, it's probably going to be Kincaid, especially the way he's been targeted for a tight end that's splitting. He's only playing 50% of the snaps, but he's getting targeted a whole lot more than his counterpart there in Dawson Knox. So I like it. If you're looking for the guy that's going to probably be getting the ball more, but probably not scoring touchdowns, that's Juwan Johnson. So I would say Kincaid over Johnson, but both are good starts. Knicks or Fields? Is Fields even going to be 100%? I mean, I know that concussions can go away, but it says no updates on week 4, so I'm going to go with Knicks until I hear something different. But they are going against Miami. It's a divisional rivalry game. Justin Fields, if he does play, should be good. But right now I'm going Knicks because I don't think Fields is playing just yet. It says, and I have Sutton, but he's more of a starter. Sutton's really good. So let's see. I'm trying to go back to your other question. I would go with Jamal Williams, to be honest. He has the higher ceiling if you're looking for more points. Cooper Kupp is more the consistent guy. He's a little bit more utilized in our offense there. The Lions, he says, I saw a clip of Marvin Harrison Jr. drop a wide open pass this Sunday. Yeah, he does it all the time. Like I said, he's not that guy. Dizzle, what's up, my guy? How you doing? He says, to a running back desperate team, should I trade CMC, Bucky, or Hampton for Lamar Jackson? Damn. If you have all three of those guys, I wouldn't even care. But if you want to get better, for sure, I think Hampton is the more unproven one, but he's also now going to be the only guy pretty much there worth a damn, unless, the Chargers sign somebody, which they Very well could. Bucky continues to get really good usage. CMC, obviously, you're not going to want to trade him away, but that guy's probably going to want you to trade him away to him, especially if he's giving away Lamar Jackson. But I'm looking at schedules here because that's kind of how I go off of things. I love Bucky Irving's schedule, honestly. I think Hampton has a little bit of a harder schedule. So maybe Omarion Hampton is the move, but from what I saw this past week, I really like what he's doing. So I honestly wouldn't trade any of these guys. But if I had to choose one, I think I'm going to go Bucky just because I don't have many leagues. But I'd rather have CMC. I'd rather have Hampton at this point in time. Vince, my hair will look like Lamar by Christmas. I'll hold you to it, bro. If it does, I'll eat my words, but I don't think it is. Your hair's not like Lamar's hair. Lamar has nice curls, and you have wavy-ish hair. Dizzle says, last night I woke up as the coaches were shaking hands, insane timing. Yeah, dude, it was actually a pretty good game. So obviously, Lions kind of ran away with it at the end, so you didn't really miss much. But Derrick Henry just shat the bed, and so did Lamar, and so did Lamar's offensive line. Actually, that offensive line was horrendous against Hutchinson in the last quarter. AJ has Henry on the trade block. Yeah, he's going to ask for a high price. That's just how AJ rolls. But he does want to get rid of Derrick Henry, honestly. He's tired of all his fumbles and the regression right now. It says, I'm 0-3, most points against, but we will get rolling. Ooh, what league is that? Dizzle got the W in the Gold League. He was shocked. He says, Henry has fumbleitis. Yes, he does. He has the fumbleitis. Okay. So finally, I can go over some people here. So I'm looking at the Gold League. This is a 12-man league. So these are the guys that I really do think that you should pick up. Let's see. He says, I really couldn't believe it. Yeah. But the Lions played good. That's for sure. So obviously, I'm going to go with my homegrown guys. I'm going to go with Geno Smith. I think he's a good ad. And so I think is Darnold. Darnold is a guy who can probably get you some pretty good quality points all year long. He's kind of like that, not Baker Mayfield type, but he's like the Matthew Stafford, but on the Seahawks. Obviously, we are a run-first team, so we say, but we do a lot of play action, and Sam Darnold has been pretty damn elusive. He doesn't rush the ball, but he gets out of trouble, and JSN, Torrey Horton, I mean, a whole bunch of guys, Cooper Kupp, AJ Barner, all of our wide receivers, even our running backs, get out of the way and kind of find an open spot. So it's benefiting Sam Darnold. He's pretty damn accurate right now, and I love it. Not a whole bunch of points, but it is quality points, especially for some of you guys who might have some quarterbacks coming on bye week pretty soon. Sam Darnold might not be there if we have a couple more injuries to the quarterback position, or if some guys just start crapping the bed more consistently. So if you have a roster spot, I would say Sam Darnold. Geno Smith, he's pretty good, but he's also up and down. But he does sling the rock. I will give him that. He played a little bit more of a clean game this past week, but he just couldn't get it rolling until the end of the game. So Geno Smith is also a guy to pick up. Excuse me. Carson Wentz. I hate to say this for JJ McCarthy, but there's a world out there where Carson Wentz actually might become the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. He is just more, not talented, but more seasoned, in my opinion, and he could be the guy. So those are my three guys that I think you should definitely watch out for. Obviously, Jackson Dart is out there. If you want to take a snag at him, who knows? He might be the next like Russell Wilson rookie. He's pretty mobile, all that. Could be a smaller Josh Allen. So we'll see. But Jackson Dart is definitely worth a look at if you are just desperate, especially in a deeper league too. Big Money says he was happy with Henry week 1 versus me. Oh yeah, Derrick Henry showed up in week 1, but week 2 and week 3, even week 1 he had a fumble. So it is what it is. Big Money says, "What's up, Vince? How you doing, Big Money? Love to see you here, man. Thanks for joining." This is Dan calling AJ out, but he says he agrees. Is $10 fab for Woody Marks too much? Probably. How deep is your league? But yeah, I would say so. I would do something like 5. Unless it's like a really deep league and he's like the only guy out there worth a damn, then maybe I might do like 7 or 8. But 10, yeah, I think that's a little crazy, depending on how much fab you have left. It says, my boy Big Money made it. Yeah, you guys are the villains, right? He says, I told Big Money that he's got time to make a run. He's 0-3, but teams have won championships 0-3. It is true. I've definitely climbed back from not an 0-3, but a 1-2 start. Not as bad as when you look at it. You have 1 win, kind of like right now. And I won the championship one time. So it's possible for sure. But you definitely need to make some trades. Definitely need to hit the waiver wire. Obviously, you have the first waiver pick. So I'm expecting him to pick up some guys there in the Gold League. It says, I'm thinking of having Buddy's GF take out JSN on Thursday Night Football. I will find you and I will hurt you, Dizzle. That is a fact. I'll find you and I'll hurt you. Ray Gamer says, hey, fam. How's it going, buddy? How you doing? Dizzle says, unfortunately, his team stinks. Yeah, they do, honestly. But he could be the guy, you know. Maybe he's the guy. Brandon says he's got the first waiver pick. Interesting. It might change. I don't know. I don't know how AJ has the settings here. But moving on to running backs, at least here in our Gold League, we do not have Benson out there. We do have DeMarcado out there. But Benson is obviously worth a pickup if you don't have him. Obviously, I was smart and I have Benson. I think I drafted him. I'm not 100% sure. I just had a feeling about James Conner, regressing. I did not think he was going to get hurt, a gruesome injury like that. So prayers up for James. But yeah, I got Benson because I just felt like the time was near where James Conner might obviously give up some stuff. And then obviously James Conner said it from his mouth too. He says, Benson is going to be splitting carries with me. Make sure you pick him up, basically. But obviously, there is Devin Singletary, too. We didn't see a whole bunch of him against Kansas City because we saw just a plethora of Scatterbo or whatever. So Devin Singletary in those deeper leagues, especially like our 12-man league here, he might be the guy. But obviously, if you saw AJ's Pick'em video or waiver wire video, there is a guy like Tyler Algier. Obviously, he is not getting a whole bunch of snaps behind the amazing Bijan Robinson. But if Bijan were to go down, which we have seen before, Tyler Algier just comes out of the woodworks and plays very well because he is a great running back, to be honest, too. His yards per carry is pretty good, not amazing, but very serviceable. So there's a lot of guys to go. Obviously, you can get Ollie Gordon. Obviously, you can get Ray Davis from Buffalo. He's been pretty quiet as of lately. But if James Cook were to go down, obviously we've seen the bowling ball and Ray Davis. So there's a lot of guys you can get. Also, Justice Hill could be taking a little bit of some more snaps away from Henry, but mostly they're passing downs. But so far we've seen Baltimore behind quite a bit. Let's see. Big Money, his team stinks, says Dizzle. It says there's nobody worth it to pick up on the waiver wire in the Gold League. Yeah, at this point in time, the Gold League is just that competitive at this. So that is what it is. But there are a couple guys, in my opinion. I'm actually looking at some. But dang, Dizzle calling out Big Money. Yeah, he is. So this is one that I'm looking at. So if you haven't put a waiver in for him, I am. Wait, no, it's not actually him. Hold on. I lost him. I don't think it's this guy. Oh, right here. Sorry, I was too scrolled down. My bad. I'm looking at Sterling Shepard in the Gold League. Obviously, he's not doing like amazing at this point in time, but Mike Evans just went down. So Sterling Shepard is the next man up to fill in the shoes of Emeka Egbuka, and Emeka Egbuka is filling in the shoes for obviously Mike Evans. So in my opinion, that is who you should be targeting in the Gold League if you're smart there, Brandon. I don't know if you need wide receiver help. I don't think you do. Neither do I. But obviously those flex positions can fit both. Wide receiver, running back, and even tight end. Kind of like I planned to do, but failed. So definitely a lot of guys at the wide receiver position. that are actually playing good. Another one is Elic Ayumanor from the Titans. He is silently becoming a killer out there. Obviously, not a whole bunch of targets, and maybe that's why not many people are talking about him. But Cam Ward really likes the guy, especially in the red zone. So he has 2 touchdowns back-to-back in week 2 and week 3. He's going against Houston, who is pretty dang, sad to look at and watch right now. Do I think Elic Ayumanor will get a touchdown this week? Maybe not. Houston's defense is a little bit better, but there's a possibility that he does go off because they are letting a lot happen in between goal line to goal line. So definitely look at some guys there if you think that there's nobody there. Obviously, Trey Tucker is there. We've already seen 2 great performances from him on the Raiders. Obviously, this past week was just crazy with 3 touchdowns, but he also had a good week in week 1. Not a whole bunch of targets, but a touchdown and a good amount of yardage on those receptions. So, obviously, Geno Smith is looking for him. Trey Tucker might be a guy to definitely stash, especially for those weeks where, a lot of bye weeks like week 8, week 12, other weeks like that. So, a lot of guys to look out for. But yeah, those are my guys so far. If you really want to, too, this is just more of a bias pick for me. I'm actually picking him back up in the Dynasty League, and that's Torrey Horton from the Seahawks. He's our third option, kind of tied with Jake Bobo, but I think now he's taken it over 100%. He's getting 50% of snaps, and last week he had 11.2 points with a touchdown. This week, 18.2 with a touchdown and a punt return. So definitely not getting a whole bunch, but he is looked at, and he is. It says Horton bias ass nigga. Oh, man, you're crazy, dude. He says digga, yeah. But yeah, for sure. I am biased. Come at me, whatever. But yeah, I definitely do think Torrey Horton is worth a shot, especially in 12-man league. I won't pick him up right now, but if he continues to do great, it is what it is. Let's see. It says, I know nice way to go 3-1. Huh. What are you talking about? Maybe I'm missing something up here. Oh, let's see. There's nobody worth it picking up. It says, dang, Dizzle calling out big money. No sugarcoating it. Gold League competitive, yet Judkins got dropped. I know. That was insane to me, honestly. It says, it's Dizzle and big money this week. Ooh, that should be a good one. As long as big money can kind of come out the woodworks. Dizzle says, it's a nice way to go 3-1. There you go. That's where it makes sense. He says, where's that big money go? He's probably with his family, man. Just wait till I get Lamb back. Oh, yeah. Your teams actually look pretty scary. Good job. Good job this year, Dizzle. You're right, Dizzle. My team does stink, just like you have every other season I played against you. This is also facts. He says, I did 5 trades last week in all different leagues, and teams got better, doing good so far this year. Love to hear it, Ray. Love to hear it. He says, I got Olave, Hill, and Brian Thomas Jr. as my wide receivers. Olave is doing pretty well, getting a lot of targets. Hill starting to do better. I don't know if he'll keep it up, but obviously you can only hope. And Brian Thomas is also getting a little bit more back in his groove, as we saw at the second half of last game for the Jaguars. But it's still not there yet. Because I got a bunch of Rashee Rice in 3 of those trades with others. Nice. I do think he's going to be really good when he comes back. Probably a little ramp-up period, but definitely when he gets solidified by like week 8, week 9, week 10, when you really need him, he's going to be there for you. Brandon Rogers says, you say stash Trey Tucker, but what about Myers in the number 1 receiver spot? So what? You can't get him on waivers. You'd have to probably like trade for him. But even Myers is not – I don't even think he has as many points as Trey Tucker. He is playing well, but not as well, in my opinion. Especially against tougher matchups like they did against Washington this week. He just got covered up like insanely. So in my opinion, I think Trey Tucker is worth it. Especially for those deeper leagues, Brandon. Deeper leagues. He says, you tell him big money. He says, I'm sure you saw an NSP league chat, but the one league I had Connor in, I traded him away before he got hurt. Yeah. Didn't you trade him to AJ? I don't know. Maybe that was a different league, but I think maybe that was the dynasty for AJ, but could have been somewhere else. It says, I won the consolation bracket last year. So lucky my team didn't sneak in the 6th seed. Yeah, who stopped you, buddy? Me. I really didn't do anything either, but it is what it is. Brown's got to get a head coach first before Judkins pops off. Yeah, very true. I think Judkins is just, going to continue to be Judkins. He's there for his rookie contract unless they trade him away, which would be really dumb. But yeah, it says bragging about winning consolation bracket is like bragging about sleeping with. Oh man, I love when you guys go at it. It says it was me and Vince, I think, last year in the first round of the playoffs. I don't remember, to be honest. I'd have to look at the bracket. But this is my standard league. Oh, nice. That's pretty good, Ray. But yeah, not bad. Shadir and Judkins? Nah. Shadir's not going to see that field for a long time, in my opinion. I feel like they trade him before they start him, and that's giving him some slack. But yeah, in this gold league, guys, believe it or not, Mark Andrews at the tight end position is available. He says, Brandon says, I think Trey Tucker got 40 in one of my leagues. Yeah, same. Vince, I wanted to snap you so bad today at work. The mother was at my desk when I got to the office. Dude, should have sent me something. Should have sent me a little peep there of what y'all talk about. But Mark Andrews came out of the woodworks, guys. 2 touchdowns, 91 yards, 6 receptions. He went 6 for 6. Every pass that went his way was caught, taken for yak yards, everything like that. But will he keep it up? I don't know. Worth a stash, especially for us in this gold league. He's owned in 85% of leagues. So I don't think this is a question for a lot of people. But 1.5 and 1.4 in week 1 and week 2 is pretty horrendous. And that's why I think somebody got dropped. But for realistic leagues, obviously, I still think guys like Okonkwo from Tennessee are guys to look at. He's just been getting better and better chemistry with Cam Ward, and Cam Ward has been getting just a little bit better slowly with that offensive line and everything that he's got to deal with. But 4.9 in week 1 against Denver, a tough defense. 7.5 against another, pretty good defense in the Rams, and then against Indy, 11.6. So rising up there, especially in those deeper leagues, he's the 17th ranked tight end at this point in time. So he's worth a look at, in my opinion. Obviously, there's Isaiah Likely. Obviously, he's inactive at this point in time. I don't know exactly when he'll come back based on that injury with his ankle and everything, but he's also worth a stash, guys. Might as well, especially if you're going to need help later in the season with the tight end that you have, and tight ends are sparse. He's worth a look at, guys. But there's also another guy that I think people should start to look at, and that is Theo Johnson for the New York Giants. You know that Jackson Dart is coming in to this league, and he's going to look for somebody to throw the dang ball to. And if Malik Neighbors has another bad game like how we are looking at right now, Theo Johnson plays a whole ton of snaps. Obviously, he's a guy that's chipping at the edge of the line to kind of help that offensive line because sometimes it can be horrendous. But Theo Johnson, this is his stats so far with obviously Russell Wilson, who really does not ever look at tight ends. I mean, even when we had, what's his name? I can't even remember his name right now because we just make tight ends so irrelevant. Tight end from the Saints for so many years. I just can't remember his name. Dizzle, help me out. But yeah, so Russell Wilson does not throw to his tight ends very often. He's just not used to it in the type of system that we ran in Seattle, and he wasn't used to it there in the Steelers organization, and now he's not used to it here with a young guy like Theo Johnson in the Giants. Jimmy Graham. There you go. Jimmy Graham Cracker. The Cracker himself. We just ruined his career. He had some decent games, but it was only really in the red zone. So I think that Theo Johnson is, somebody to look at possibly. Again, unproven, but with Jackson Dart coming in at the helm, I do think that he's going to be looking for somebody to call his best friend, his buddy, somebody who can bail him out, and that could very well be Theo Johnson. Because we saw Wan'Dale Robinson struggle, we saw Malik Neighbors struggle, we saw Darius Slayton, come out of the woodworks, and that might be Theo Johnson in these coming weeks. He says kid blames the camera, just doesn't know ball. My bad, bro. Sometimes I just forget my guys. It's been a long time, and obviously as we're talking and jumbling and all the thoughts get screwed up here. So names kind of are the last thing I'm thinking of. It's more about the guys I'm talking about right now. Throat is itchy and scratchy now. It says, I'm pulling for the Saints. I think they can be good if they had a stud QB. Yeah, they're actually not playing that bad. Obviously, we just beat the crap out of them because they are a bad team right now. But if they get, some help on the line this next year, grow the trenches like they should. They have Olave. Obviously, they have Shaheed. Obviously, they have Juwan Johnson. All great guys, in my opinion. So the skill players are there. Kamara, if he sticks around, skills players are there. So in my opinion, it's just, O-line and quarterback, but they just can't nail it anymore. They got Drew Brees out of sheer luck, to be honest, with that, the way it happened, but it is what it is. I mean, some teams just go through droughts, and right now this is the Saints drought, and they just haven't had anybody to kind of get him out of the rut. Theo Vaughn, I love that guy. He's a good comedian. I think Jackson Dart can be really good. There's an opportunity. His team sucks right now, like Dizzle said earlier, and I agree with it. But yeah, it is what it is. He says, you need co-host Dizzle for ball knowledge. There you go. Come on, Dizzle. You got the link, I think, still. He says, did you see the 0.8 win? I did. It's a pretty good one. Sometimes it happens like that. I've also seen miraculously some ties. I've seen a tie before, and it goes to whose bench scored more points. So it's pretty crazy to see that too, like down to like the decimal point. It says, what happened to Taysom Hill? I believe he's hurt. I don't know 100%, but I believe he had a pretty bad injury, and yeah, he's on the PUP list right now. He had a knee injury, torn ACL last season, so he probably won't come back until like midway through the year or something, or the end of the year. I don't know. Omarion for PF MAR. Says Omarion and DK for Nico Collins. I would want to keep Omarion, but if you really need, the help there at the wide receiver position, it's not bad. But who are your other running backs? Because I don't want you to give away one of your only good running backs, and then you don't have any running backs. So let me know what your entire team is if you can put it out there. Would help. Taysom Hill is a tight end. No, he's a quarterback, tight end, Swiss Army knife, whatever you want him to be. But yeah, he's not a quarterback. Yeah, I believe he actually was a quarterback originally, but they found out that he's a dang athlete more than he is a quarterback. So they put him in the tight end position. It says, get big money and Dizzle up some content. Dude, it'd be so funny to watch them fight. I think you're totally correct, Brandon. Rolando Solis says, go Cowboys. Not this past week, and I don't even think this week either, man. It's going to be a tough one going against the Packers. But you never know, right? You never know. Any given Sunday type of vibes. But yeah, so back to some of the tight ends. Obviously, there are a lot of guys out there. Tommy Tremble is a starter for, the Carolina Panthers, but he's just not that guy. Jatavian Sanders is also kind of just like splitting with him. So I count them both as starters, but they're just not really doing anything. So in those deeper leagues, you can start to look at these guys, but it won't be a week-to-week thing where they get you quality points. But Tommy Tremble might play. Jatavian Sanders has a high ankle sprain, so that's why I'm talking about Tommy Tremble in the first place. Dizzle says, I got to make an appearance at some point. Yeah, dude, join us on one of our Monday Night Football lives. We'd love to have you during the game. Like I said, we invite all of our fans here, but we just got to vet you to make sure that you, obviously, in Dizzle's mind, know ball and aren't camera shy, basically. Because it is different when you're talking up here and, you're kind of like a performer for everybody. That's just kind of how it goes and shakes out. So sometimes when you get on here, you get a little bit more quiet. You have to like groove in a little bit. It happened to Dizzle one time where he was just a little more quiet. But the second and I believe the third time, I think there's 3 times where you've been on here. you open up a little bit. So it's kind of practice makes perfect type of thing. Brandon says Packers lost to the Browns. Cowboys will be all right. Sure, bud. Cowboys don't have a defense like the Browns do. Fields or Purdy? Purdy's still injured. Fields is still injured. If one of them plays, I would probably say Purdy. He just has more control of his team. He has CMC as well. So possibly Purdy. But Fields, I just don't know yet. The Jets is kind of a bad team. But they have good players, but they're a bad team. Says, got to do one where I don't have work on Tuesday. Yeah, sure. Request off one of those Monday Night Football games, and we'll let you on. Probs Veterans Day in November. Sure, man. We'd love to have you. Let's do it. I'm down skis. It says, tomorrow's my last day of work before I move. Where are you moving, Brandon? I would like to know. But, all right, let's come over here to the kickers. Nobody really talks about kickers anymore. But obviously, I've seen this in a lot of leagues. Let me see where he's at. Will Reichard is a good guy to have with the Vikings. So in my opinion, there's a lot of guys out there that should be picked up, in my opinion. Jason Myers, the Seahawks kicker as well. It's pretty consistent, gets you good quality points. You got to get those guys that are just like on teams that get to the end zone area, but sometimes stall out. And I will say it, the Seahawks sometimes stall out. We're not the best offense in the league, even though we are fairly well. But there's also guys like Nick Folk who are on the Jets. So if the Jets get anywhere close to like the 50 or 40-yard line, guys like that, you can kind of pick up there. But let's see. Let's move on to defenses. There's one defense that I want to highlight, and it is in the thumbnail of this video, and that is the Chargers. If the Chargers are up there, they're going up against Jackson Dart on his first start ever in a regular season game in the NFL. So definitely could be some feasting there, maybe a couple of interceptions thrown, maybe some sacks, because we know that the New York Giants O-line just sucks outright. They have a few guys on there that are decent, but not as good as Joey Bosa coming off the line for the Chargers. So a couple other guys as well, obviously. But I think that's a good defense to stream. Should be out there fairly more than not. 27% rostered. So it should be out there in a lot of leagues. It is in our gold league. It could be somebody that I go after, but maybe not. Let's see. It says from Waco to Spring, which is in Houston. Oh, you're going to Spring. Nice. Spring, Texas. He's moving to Diggerville, 2.5 hours away. Not bad. With the Diggers. Love Django Probs runs those streets. Oh my goodness. This guy's crazy. Let's see. He says, I saw this video of this guy called Ghost Who's, and he messes around with ghosts and fights with them. It makes me laugh so hard. You should check it out. I probably won't. Not enough time. He says, I know that's off topic. I got you. Maybe others will. Maybe Dizzle will. Just when he takes his gummies. He says, I'm picking up the Browns defense because I got a lot of Packers D shares and preparing a week ahead. Okay. Not bad. He says, Joey Bosa is on the Bills. Yes, he's on the Bills. Can't believe you don't know ball, Dizzle. You just don't know ball. He says, Khalil Mack is hurt. Khalil Mack can, his elbow is hurting. He's got epicondylitis. But Khalil Mack is hurt. He says no gummies since Easter's. Yeah, no diarrhea since Easter's también. Other than that, obviously everybody's gonna want to try to get the freaking Vikings as the defense. They're playing up against Pittsburgh. It could be a fair game for them, but I'm thinking more of like barely scraping into double digits. Probably not gonna have a huge game like they did, but. The Vikings are also there for you guys who like to follow, the smoking trail. So guys like that, defenses like that. Joey Bosa was on the 49ers. I thought, no, that's Nick Bosa. That's his brother. Said you said picking up LAC defense talking about Bosa. Yeah, Joey Bosa. He's on the Chargers. Or no, he's on the Bills. Yeah, he might be on the Bills. I don't know. Somewhere. Let me look him up. because you can actually look up defensive players here. So Joey Bosa. Oh, I guess not. I guess it's not in ours. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Joey Bosa is either on the Chargers or he's on the Bills. Might be the Bills. Yeah, I think it is on the Bills. I think I talked about it. But anyways, I have ETN and Pollard as my running back twos. See, Dizzle, you're just kind of like, you're throwing me off. Yeah, I'm going to actually search it because now you're throwing me off and I don't appreciate you. So Joey Bosa is on the Bills. Yeah, so I was wrong in the first place. Carry on. He says, I have ETN and Pollard as my running back twos. Judkins is available on waivers. Should I switch out one of them with ETN trending down with Tootin, getting more time, and Spears coming back soon? Spears, I'm not too, hyped about. He's been in this league for a long time, always gets injured, never gets a rhythm. So Spears, I'm not really high on. Pollard should be fine. I don't think that Spears is going to take anything away from him, if anything at all. ETN, I like it. Judkins, I would pick him up, to be honest. I mean, he's had a good week, and he had a good week for what he played in week 2. So I'm definitely down with you doing that. ETN is trending down with Tootin, getting more time. Yeah, but ETN is still very, very good with his touches. So I definitely think picking up Judkins is very good, to be honest, but just don't drop ETN or Pollard, in my opinion. And in my opinion, don't pick up Spears. I think it's going to be a wasted spot where you could get somebody else better that week when you do get somebody. It says Raj is cooking the Vikes. Probably not. It says, I think Vince is on gummies. Yeah, he's on the Bills. Dizzle confused me. See, Brandon says I got Baker, Bijan, Jacobs, Sutton, London, Williams, Hawkinson, and Aubrey. I've fallen to 1 and 2 and not too much progression from my team this last week. Any adjustments that I should do? So obviously Baker, Bijan, you don't need to adjust there. Jacobs, you really don't need to adjust there. You just had a bad week because the entire team had a bad week. Sutton looks good, but sometimes he'll be on the low end, like 10 points, 8 points. But sometimes he'll be what he did this past week, like 20-something. I think it was like 27, 29 points. London having bad offensive, scripts there. This entire team is bad on the offensive side besides Bijan, because Bijan is the offense. Williams, I'm assuming you're saying Jameson Williams. I like him. Could you do better? You might be able to trade him after a really good week to somebody. I would maybe try my best to trade him for like somebody who has Rashee Rice. But I'm assuming you're talking about our gold league. So it might be pretty tough there, to be honest. But Hawkinson and Aubrey, obviously Aubrey's great. Hawkinson, you might be able to do better, but he is also actually playing fairly well at this point in time. But you can also trade Hawkinson and Williams for like a more consistent tight end. Let's see. Let me look at some tight ends here for you. Obviously, if it's in the Gold League, he says not. It's in the Yahoo, my big money league. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of guys that you can kind of look at. But let me see. Take this off. Week 1 season. There we go. Kind of just looking at all the tight ends for you. If it even allows me, I don't even think it does. I have to be somewhere else to kind of figure out who is on there. But yeah, this is why I don't like it on the computer. I feel like they're not as good on the computer anymore, so I can't really search up guys. But tight ends, I mean, Zach Ertz is always pretty consistent. He's having a little bit of a down week. Obviously, Kincaid is there. You can trade for Kincaid and probably not give away too much. Same thing with the Cardinals tight end, McBride. He's a lot more to trade for, but he is very, very consistent, getting double-digit points every week. Same thing with who else? Brock Bowers has kind of been crap in the bed lately just because the entire Raiders offense has been crap in the bed. Let's see. Kelsey, not very good, to be honest. Ingram, don't stay away from him everywhere. I'm just thinking of tight ends here right now, to be honest. Ferguson on the Cowboys is a very good guy to trade for. He's like the most targeted guy on the team, especially with CD out. I think he will be getting a lot more touches. So will Pickens, but Pickens is not that true number one. So they might be relying a lot more on Ferguson, and he's just literally getting demolished all game. But he's sturdy as a stud, man. It says, thoughts on my own 3 team, most points against. I think I'm about to turn a corner. Fields and Purdy, CMC, Bucky, Pickens, T-Mac, obviously Hampton, Ertz. Love the Ertz pick. I'm assuming you got him late. Green Bay defense, Aubrey. Bench has no running backs. Might get marks on the wire. And Ricky Pearsall and Golden. Not bad. Definitely, obviously, you need some guys behind Bucky and CMC. I would try to upgrade, the quarterback position, if anything. I like Purdy, but obviously his entire team is hurt. But he still could play good. Purdy kind of comes out the woodworks too. But yeah, I do like T-Mac, but Pickens as your number one wide receiver is pretty cray, my guy. So if you can get Ricky Pearsall, I think that would benefit you as well. Pollard just had his best game. Yeah, so keep Pollard, to be honest. Says, playing a really bad team this week, should get a free W. There you go. Says, I have Kincaid on the bench. Well, there you go, my guy. You should be all right. I didn't see that in there because you didn't put your bench. But Hawkinson and Kincaid are 2 guys to have that are pretty good. So you can definitely trade away one of them and get like a tight end that I've been talking about on the waiver wire. You can get a Conquo. He should be on every waiver wire almost in some leagues. He's 30% owned in Sleeper. So definitely you can get some guys out there that would definitely benefit you. So in my opinion, do that. See if you can trade away one of your tight ends, try to get somebody better at the wide receiver position. But there also should be a lot of guys on the waivers, especially if this is not a big league. Dizzle says, I have Pearson on the bench. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, you said you have no running backs, might get marks on the wire, Ricky Pearsall and Golden. So I thought you were going to get Ricky Pearsall on the waivers and Golden, the way that was worded. So my B, bro, my B. But yeah, back to defenses before I end this video at the hour mark. So obviously the Baltimore Ravens against Kansas City. Kansas City has been playing like trash, to be honest. Baltimore Ravens are not a great defense, but they could play well. They could. They've scored 32 points before, and that was against the Cleveland Browns. Like I said, as the Kansas City Chiefs play good teams, they have not been good as of lately. So there's a possibility that you could get them. Obviously, Detroit Lions are going against Cleveland. Probably a good one to pick up too. So in my opinion, the Chargers, the Lions, the Ravens, you can even get Pittsburgh if you want to, but they're going against Minnesota. Carson Wentz played pretty good. But anybody who's going against the Jets, anybody who's going against the Giants like Washington, that was last week, my bad. Washington Commanders, though, too, going against Atlanta. I know Atlanta is going to probably want to make a comeback game. But everybody, guys, I mean, I'd even say get the Miami defense against the Jets, to be honest. The Jets are just not playing well at all. So, and I believe Miami's defense should be out there in almost every single league at this point in time. And they're not playing extremely horrible. But when they play the Jets, they play fairly well. Let's see. Right here. This is my ESPN paid league. I'm 1-2 as well. Daniels, who's hurt. You played Russell Wilson, yeah. Barkley, who tanked this week. Chase Brown, who also tanked. JSN, amazing. Started Jonathan Myers over Sutton, which I regret. Yeah, I would have too. But I also sat Sutton in one of my leagues, and I've lost by like 3 points. So I was pretty pissed. It says, thoughts on that team. Definitely needs some help in the running back position. Obviously, Saquon Barkley should return to his form. But Chase Brown, yeah, pretty tough there, my guy. But again, try not to trade away Chase Brown. The back end of his schedule is literally all in green, my guy. All of the teams that he's playing up against right now are horrible against the run, and that could end up making, the wait worth it. Because you want to win in the back half of the season. That way, when you're getting to the playoffs, you solidify your spot. So Chase Brown might be valuable. That's what I'm thinking. In the one league I have him, I'm going to keep him. I have like 3 other running backs that are all great above him. But Chase Brown, if he turns the corner later on in the season, he will be missed by most people who trade him away. But thoughts on the team? Yeah, I would just upgrade. Obviously, get one more good running back if you can. Trade away Myers. Trade away somebody else who's on your bench, which I don't know who they are. Says, would you play Pearsall over T-Mac or Pickens? I don't have Pearsall in any leagues, so I will double check on how he's doing at this point in time. I know he's doing well. Yeah, so he's doing well. Against Jacksonville, yeah, I would start him for sure. Who's gonna stop this guy? You know, the unicorn dude? Heck no. Yeah, I would start Pearsall, especially if Brock Purdy comes back this week, which I don't know if he will. Let me double check. He's expected to continue practicing as of a day ago. So yeah, he's in limited participation right now. If he comes back, obviously Pearsall is going to get the work. He did this past week with Mac Jones, so I think he'll continue to get the work with Brock Purdy too, especially with nobody else there. So yeah, I'd probably start him over T-Mac. Probably start him over, or I would definitely start him over Pickens. I don't have Pickens in any leagues too, so let me make sure I'm doing my due diligence and saying that he's whack. Oh, he's actually doing pretty good. Oh, but touchdowns are carrying him. So touchdowns are carrying him, but that's good for him. So yeah, if you want to play Pearsall and Pickens, I don't know who's your number one, but yeah, we all have so many teams. It's hard to keep track. Says I also put Juwan Johnson and Etienne and Pollard. Nice. I like it. I like Etienne. I like Pollard. So definitely a good team. I think you're fine there, honestly. If you can possibly get now another wide receiver besides Myers, I think that'll be good. But Myers is also pretty good some weeks. Brandon says, I wanted to trade someone to get me a better running back because I don't think Chase Brown will pull through. But if you have Etienne and Pollard behind them, start those guys, Brandon. Says, dang, don't say that with Dizzle. He says, so just hold on to Chase Brown. I think so. I'm going to do that, and I'm hoping that he turns the corner there. The Bengals are just going to continue to get better little by little without Joe Burrow. They're going to find their stars, and that's going to be Chase Brown. He's getting fed like an animal right now, but he's just getting, the work done to him. But as he gets out of these tougher matchups, I think he'll find a way to get points. So it won't be extraordinary. I'm not saying he's going to be like a top 10 running back, but there are going to be games there where he definitely plays well. Should I start Etienne or Pollard over Chase? Yes, for sure. At this point in time, I would start Etienne and Pollard over them. And yeah, obviously Barkley. Would you rather start Sutton or Etienne at the flex? Probably Sutton. I think they have a pretty favorable matchup this week. When I looked at it, I'm starting him in one of my leagues, Cincinnati. They're going against Cincinnati, the poorest defense. So I would start Sutton. But I would say start Saquon, start Etienne, start Sutton in the flex. If you only have one flex. If you have two flexes, put Pollard in as well. But I would say Etienne and Sutton over those other two. That's just my opinion. Okay, guys. That's about it. So get your last questions in there. We are coming around to the hour mark, so I will be ending this video pretty soon. But thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for asking questions, keeping it interesting. So love when I can get comments in here and everybody kind of play along, have a good conversation. This is why we started this channel, to make a community and obviously help people with fantasy as well. So we love it. Alrighty. Yeah, just to go over a few guys again, if you weren't here in the beginning, obviously I do think that there are some guys that you can definitely get at the quarterback position. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, Jackson Dart, if you want to give him a shot. And I think Carson Wentz has the opportunity to take the job away from J.J. McCarthy. I don't know how realistic that is, but it's just something swirling in my mind. Devin Singletary's out there, handcuffs like Algier, Ollie Gordon, all that stuff. Those guys are there, as well as Ray Davis. So that's running backs. Wide receivers, obviously, I think Sterling Shepard right now is going to get the biggest jump up because of Mike Evans' injury and Emeka Ibuka moving to the 1. So now Shepard is the 2. Baker Mayfield's going to continue to throw the dang ball, and Shepard's going to be pretty good with that, to be honest. There are also some other guys at the wide receiver position. Again, Dizzle said I'm reaching here, but Torrey Horton has been playing good. He's pretty touchdown dependent there, but in those deeper leagues, he is a guy to kind of look at. So there's a lot of guys out there. Obviously, Trey Tucker is out there. It won't be a week-to-week thing where he's going to get like 13 to 40 points like he did this past week. But he is being looked at by Geno Smith. So obviously, I think he's worth a grab. And last but not least, I look a Umanor from the Titans, pretty touchdown dependent as well. But he's consistently getting touchdowns and a whole bunch of looks from Cam Ward. And Cam Ward is getting more accurate and more accurate. Myers. Here, let me see. It says, what about Sutton over Myers and then Pollard at the flex? Yeah, I like that. I like Sutton over Myers, to be honest. Sutton's going to have a fun day against Cincinnati Bengals, I think. Bengals need a new O-line before you start Brown. It is true. But I do think that O-line will cohesively get a little bit better, as O-lines usually do. As long as they can stay healthy and keep it all together, I think Chase Brown is going to be a little bit better later in the year. So that's just me. I have him in one league. That's what I'm hoping on. Obviously, guys, again, there are some guys out there. I don't think Ferguson is out there. I don't think Mark Andrews is out there for a lot of guys. But if you want to trade for those guys at the tight end position, you definitely should. They are the workhorses. But if you are looking for a guy on the waiver wires that you're going to trust with maybe getting you close to 10 points or maybe over 10 points like you did this week, Chig Okonkwo from the Titans. They are going up against Houston this week. So it is a tougher defense, but Okonkwo has been, progressively getting more and more cohesive with Cam Ward. And so he's looking his way a lot more, in my opinion. So there's guys like that out there to definitely get. Again, I think people should start to kind of keep a microscope on a guy named Theo Johnson from the New York Giants. Jackson Dart is coming into this league. He's going to look for a quick outlet. Either that's going to be Cam Scatterbo, like we've seen already with what Russell Wilson was doing this whole past game, or it's going to be Theo Johnson, who's another big-bodied guy who's he's just going to trust to catch the ball. So they haven't really looked his way too often, but last week in Dallas, he got 5 targets, 4 receptions, 34 yards, 7.4 points. Pretty good for a young first-year guy. It says, I forgot I got A.J. Brown in that league too, so never mind. There you go. And then Sutton, yeah, you can put Sutton in the flex. You can put Pollard in the flex. I would probably have Sutton over Pollard, to be honest. So let me look at Tony Pollard. He probably has his best game this week, and it wasn't amazing. So definitely Sutton over Pollard in the flex there now that you have A.J. Brown. But yeah, and then the defenses, guys. Obviously, I talked about the Chargers, talked about the Detroit Lions, talked about the Minnesota Vikings, and obviously talked about the Washington Commanders because they're going against Atlanta, and Atlanta has not been playing very good. I even said in those deeper leagues, if you really, really need to, pick up Miami. They're going against the Jets, and Jets stink right now, especially if Justin Fields doesn't play. It's not looking good there for that team. Dropped Njoku for Ferg, and it has definitely paid off 100%. Ferguson is honestly, I think Ferguson might be, top 3 tight end right now. So let me go ahead and search him up. I hate this freaking thing. I'm going to do it on my phone. I hate that on the Sleeper app on the computer, Ferguson and all of those players that are taken by a whole bunch of people, you can't search their name up because it won't pop up. Because it's only going to allow you to kind of look for the guys that are on the waiver wire. So Jake Ferguson here, he is the number 1 tight end right now. So yeah, he's been doing amazingly. 14 targets, 13 receptions, 82 freaking yards. No touchdowns this season, but when you're getting 5 receptions in week 1, then 9 receptions in week 2, and then 13 receptions in week 3, you're doing something right. Jake Ferguson is getting those dunk down passes from Dak Prescott, and it is paying quick dividends, my guys. Pretty good. Good job, big money on that. It says, damn, will the removal of Wilson kill Scatterboo's catching upside? No, I don't think so. I definitely think that they're going to continue to have Scatterboo out as an outlet after he hits a big block. So if obviously Jackson Dart is, worth a damn, he'll figure that out and start throwing it to Scadaboo too. But I think, Scadaboo, Theo Johnson, and then everything out there like Malik Neighbors and everywhere else is going to kind of plummet just a little bit. Unless they start getting him integrated on slants, stuff like that, easy reads, all that. We'll see. We'll see what, Dabble does. But Dabble is kind of a crappy coach, in my opinion. I don't know how he's lasted that long with New York. Hasn't figured it out, and he's probably not with Jackson Dart. So in my opinion, I think Jackson Dart is going to have to figure it out on himself. So this week might be, a little tough, especially on who they're going against with Miami. Or not Miami, sorry. The Giants are going against, I think, a tough team. So let me double check. They are going against the Chargers. Their defense is nothing to sleep on, in my opinion. So could be a tough time for the Giants too, as it will be for everybody. Shadow X or Shadows, is Jefferson for Devontae, Brees, and Gianti worth it? Yeah, honestly, Jefferson right now, I think he played better this past week. No, actually he did. So yeah, if you can trade away Justin Jefferson at this point in time, I don't think his year is going to get any better, to be honest. Devontae is doing great. Brees Hall is doing, fairly well, and Gianti is not doing well yet. But I think Gianti is going to turn the corner as well. He's a rookie. We got to give him time. The O-line sucks. Schedule is pretty tough throughout the entire year. So maybe it won't work out for you with Gianti, but the only thing about a 3-for-1 where you're trading away Jefferson for Devontae, Brees, and Gianti, I'm assuming that's who you're getting. Yeah, it's tough because you got to drop guys. So if you're willing to drop 2 other guys on your bench without even, batting an eye, I would do this. Devontae Adams is playing very well, and I don't mind it, to be honest. So Devontae Adams this past week got 14 points. The week before that, 22. So this is a passing team there for the Rams. And Brees Hall, I have him in one league. He played well this past week, but nothing amazing, 9.2 points. But obviously no touchdowns yet. Brees Hall is kind of like going with the flow with what the Jets do. But not bad at all, not bad. Also in the Blue League, I got Ferg over Ertz. I think Gabe dropped him. There you go. Says might as well stay until 9. No, thank you. I'm good. Says my bad. It was AJ. Oh, dang! AJ dropped Ferg. That's insane. I'm very, very surprised at that. I'm pretty sure he's hating himself right now for what fantasy's doing to him. It says I swear they gave Buffalo the easiest schedule on purpose. It's all green on fantasy. Yeah, sometimes it happens, but it's not on purpose because there's a rotation on the schedule. So every 4 years, or every 4 years, you'll play a certain division. 4 years later, you're going to play that division no matter what. That's just how the schedule works. Especially on, let's see, the Bills, they're on the AFC. They're going to play, the AFC West every 3rd year, I believe, because they rotate. They'll rotate every division every 3 years. So they'll play one division this year, and they'll play every single team from that division in their schedule. Next year, they'll play the next division, every single team. And then the year after that, again, every single team. So it's just how it works. Obviously, there are some games in there that are fit in there. It's like week 1, Buffalo versus, the Ravens. That was just a random game. So that one's a good one. So the Buffalo Bills definitely have had some tougher games, but they've won. So that's how it works. That's how the schedule works. I barely figured that out 2 years ago. Shadow says, what if I countered their trade with Jefferson for Devontae, Brees, and Rice? Ooh, I would love that. I would even love you just doing Jefferson for Devontae and Rice. I would even take that. So I think Rice, when he comes back, he's the number 1 target for Patrick Mahomes. And we saw what happened last year. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of ramp up, but you already have Devontae, who's doing already much better than Jefferson. So I would take that. But he says, I originally wanted CMC because they have Henry. but he's trying his best to keep him. Yeah, you don't even have to get CMC. Jefferson might do well later in the year, but now you have 2 or 3 guys that are doing just as good. Devontae and Rice, or Devontae, Brees, and Rice, if he's willing to do that. So definitely take advantage, especially right now because Jefferson's not really doing the most for you. And you don't lose that much. You just lose Jefferson. That's it. Brandon says that's how Cowboys and Texans do every 4 years. Exactly. That's how it works. That's how the schedule works. So it's not like, the NFL is like, oh, let's just give the Bills an easy schedule and pick them all the easiest teams that we think they can play. This is just, the roulette. So this is the year that they have an easy schedule. Next year's probably going to be tough. Year after that might be not as tough. The year after that might be the toughest they've ever done. And then after that, again, they're back on the easy schedule. So every 4 years. But every year is different. Shadow says, I do need running backs because I have Algier, Swift, Hunt, and Najee. Then, yeah, I would definitely go the running back route then. Maybe just Brees. Because I think with Brees, Swift, and Hunt, I think you'll be okay because you only need 2 guys there. But you're definitely going to be making up with it for the receivers with Devontae and Rice if you can fit it in there. So definitely good. But if this is a deep league, see who's available. I talked about some running backs earlier that I think could obviously pay off. So obviously Singletary's there. Obviously you have Algier already, so I'm pretty sure you're in a deeper league. Ray Davis is another handcuff there you can get. Justice Hill, all those guys. So definitely look around, see what's on your waiver wire. But obviously I think you're in a deeper league, so definitely tougher. So yeah, definitely trading for some better running backs is worth it. And I think Brees Hall could be one of them. Should I pick up Pickens or Olave? They're on the waiver this week. How? What type of league are you in, Brandon? I want to be in those leagues. I actually am in one of those leagues, and I'm freaking killing it, 3-0. And I just traded, 3 of my bench players for Josh Allen. So my team's just getting even better. So I do know what kind of league you're in. 49ers had the easiest strength of schedule. Yeah, and the Seahawks have a top 5 strength of schedule this year. The entire NFC West has an easy schedule. If you look at it, all of our teams are in the top 10 because the NFC West is playing all the easy divisions in the NFC as well as the AFC this year. It's just how it works out. Should I drop Strange for Okonkwo? No, you can keep You can keep Strange. Strange is doing good. I'm just saying for those deeper leagues, for people who need, somebody who's gonna be consistent, Okonkwo is there. Yeah, so you don't need to draft Okonkwo. If he's there, cool. If one of your guys gets hurt, then you get Okonkwo. But yeah, right now you don't need to get Okonkwo. If they accept this, I would have Devontae, Amon-Ra, Johnston, Odunze. Yeah, you'd be stacked, bro. Like I said, your wide receivers be carrying you. Benson. Yeah, you can pick up Benson for sure. But I would drop not Algier. I would probably keep Algier. And I would drop Najee because he's out for the rest of the season. Yeah, that's what I would do. Unless Najee is on your IR or something. But he's not coming back this year. Is this a dynasty, Shadow? Or what is this? Let me know. Because, yeah, if it's a dynasty, then obviously it's a little different. It says, give me 9 good reasons not to start Dart over Wentz this week because I really want to. I can't give you 9 reasons. I can give you 10 because there are 10 other players that are playing with Jackson Dart, and they're going to literally screw him somehow, as well as Dabble. So there you go. I can give you Brian Dabble as the 11th reason why. So that's why. Okay, yeah, so it is a dynasty. That's what I figured from what you were talking about there and how deep the bench was. So that's how our dynasty is, and nobody's there. So I'm surprised that Benson is actually on your dynasty. But yeah, so pretty cool. Yeah, I would definitely pick up Benson. I'm fine with you dropping Algier. I think that's okay. But so I'm assuming that Najee went to your IR then. Pickens or Olave though. Probably Pickens. I would say Pickens. Olave is doing pretty good though, and I don't think it's going to slow down for Olave. As of targets and stuff, you have him in one league, so you know what he's doing. But obviously, at this point in time, Pickens is the better talent, especially with CD going out. He could get an uptick right now for the next few weeks since CD's out. Alrighty, guys. 1 more minute answering questions, and then I'm outies. My voice is leaving me right now, but I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you hit the like button. I love the comments that you guys are putting here. Hit the sub button if you haven't already, and obviously join the Discord down below, or ask us for the link and we will send it out to you. But yeah, so again, guys, thank you so much. Put any of your last questions so far, and I will be outies in a couple of seconds. Let's see. Shadow says I can possibly trade Rice for Javonte Williams. Yeah, it's not bad. I would want to keep Rice, especially in a dynasty, because Rice will be good for a long time. If you really want to trade anybody, I'd probably trade. Who did you have again? I'd probably trade Swift. Swift, like package Swift and somebody else, maybe another wide receiver that you have on the bench or something, and try to get Javonte Williams. But I wouldn't get rid of Rice for sure. No. Olave with the most targets in the league, and Vince said Nola is trying to kill him. Yeah, dude. Honestly, they are. But poor guy. I mean, he's just had some bad luck with concussions. Also, pick 2 out of Kenneth Walker, Travion, Olave, and Pollard. Probably I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. We are playing the Cardinals, and their run defense is not all that great, in my opinion. So I definitely think that this is a good week to play Kenneth Walker. If I'm really going to choose anybody on there, in my opinion, I think I'm possibly – this one's tough. I think I'm going to go with Olave, to be honest. I think if they are going to force feed anybody against the Bills, I think it's going to be Olave. Travion, I really don't know how he's been doing, but yeah, I just checked. Not so great. Going against Carolina, it might be an easier matchup, but I'm not going to bet on it just yet until I see some uptick. So yeah, I think I'm going to go Kenneth Walker and Olave. But all right, guys, that's my last question there before I get stuck here for another 5 minutes. But thank you. Go ahead and join the Discord if you have any more questions. He says, just scared of that damn Charbonnet, LOL. He's not 100% yet. So obviously when he comes back, he's going to be on a snap count, everything like that. So obviously, in my opinion, Kenneth Walker will be the guy for this week one more time. But Ramondre did fumble again. That's true. I don't know. Again, don't shoot the messenger, but in my opinion, I just haven't seen it from Travion, so I'm not going to trust him if I haven't seen it already. But Big Money says, thanks, Vince. You're welcome, guys. Again, hit the like button. Thank you for the comments. Join the Discord. And as we always say, guys, keep on grinding.